Hello and welcome to this short video on why climate change is real. Let's start off with some simple science. Here I have a piece of paper. It is made out of carbon. A lot of fuel is made out of carbon, such as oil, gas and coal. These are all classed as fossil fuel. Now, if we burn this, which is what happens when in power stations that are powered by fossil fuels, they burn the fuels and they generate heat, which is then used to make electricity and generally provides energy. Here, when the carbon burns, it combines with the oxygen, and this makes CO2, carbon dioxide, which I'm sure you've all heard. Now here, I have a lovely diagram of the Earth. When the Earth was young, there were lots of volcanoes, and volcanoes emit greenhouse gases. When the Earth was quite young, these volcanoes released a lot of greenhouse gases, which are gases like CO2, that formed a kind of protective blanket over the Earth. This blanket traps in heat, like any other blanket. So the sun's energy goes through the blanket, then bounces back, and instead of all of the energy going back out to space, in which case the Earth would be very cold, some of it bounces back, and that keeps the Earth nice and warm. And without any carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases, we wouldn't be able to have life on Earth because it wouldn't be warm enough. However, during the Industrial Revolution and currently, we've got power stations burning large quantities of carbon, which emits carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, and makes this blanket a lot thicker, which makes a warming effect. Now, if you're skeptical about the science behind this, there are experiments that you can do at home. There are other effects of global warming that aren't so straightforward. For example, if the Earth heats up, then obviously ice caps will melt, which will make the sea level rise and flood low-lying areas such as the Netherlands. Another thing is there's a lot of permafrost in these northern regions up here. Permafrost is a soil that has been frozen for thousands of years, or for a long, long time, and it locks in a lot of carbon. When this permafrost melts, it releases greenhouse gases like methane, which is 20 times worse than carbon dioxide, and that adds to this blanket and makes climate change happen faster. Now, why is it called climate change, not just global warming anymore? It's because global warming is quite a simple way of putting it. Of course, the Earth is warming, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everywhere will get warmer. It will mean that the average temperature of the Earth will increase. But some places, such as North America, might actually get colder if sea currents change, and that might cause some places to get colder. And it means that overall it will mean that there's more tropical storms, more extreme weather, and it could actually mean colder winters in the northern hemisphere. There's other factors that factor into global warming increasing. For example, in plants take in carbon dioxide, so take it out of the atmosphere, and in places like the Amazon rainforest, the trees are being cut down, which reduces the amount of plants which take in the carbon dioxide. The beef and dairy industry is also contributing to global warming, firstly because places in South America are rainforests are being cut down to make space for ranches to grow cattle for beef, and also cows generally release a lot of methane, which is a greenhouse gas which is 20 times worse for the Earth than carbon dioxide. So something that you can do to try and slow down climate change is to not eat beef or milk, which I'm not a vegan, but you can reduce the amount that you consume. Here is a graph that shows carbon dioxide emissions over the last few hundred years. You can see that they increase. This is because of the Industrial Revolution, which resulted in a lot more burning of fossil fuels, which release carbon dioxide. This graph here shows carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is pretty straightforward. It basically means more carbon dioxide emissions means more greenhouse gases. Again, this graph here shows global temperature, average temperature increase, which is a correlation. It's been a lot higher in the past 100 years since the Industrial Revolution. Now, there's a big difference between climate and weather. People like Donald Trump will say, oh, how is climate change, how is global warming happening if it's cold outside right now? That's because weather is the daily weather caused by air pressure and factors like that, whereas climate is one place's weather over 30 or more years. And so the average temperature, the average climate is gradually getting warmer, getting more extreme. It doesn't mean that every day will be really, really hot. Now, in order to kind of figure out why some people, some companies are saying that climate change doesn't exist and trying to provide evidence for it, is motives. Oil companies have a very solid motive to saying that that climate change isn't real. It's because they rely on people burning fossil fuels in order to get their revenue by selling oil. And a lot of political figures, rich people, are funded by these oil and gas companies. So obviously they're going to get more money if these oil and gas companies get more money. So they'll happily provide misinformation about climate change if it betters them. A few things that you can do is contribute to wildlife and nature preservation campaigns, especially wetland preservation and peatland preservation. There might be some campaigns in your local area if you live in Scotland, or some places with lots of peatland. There's campaigns to stop people from burning peat, which releases a lot of methane and carbon dioxide. You can also reduce the amount of beef and red meat that you eat. You can make sure that you get energy saving light bulbs, drive a car less, walk or cycle, or even use public transport to get to work or school instead. Eat a more plant-based diet. This doesn't mean completely stopping eating the things that you like, but it can just mean reducing them. Also, a really big one is pressure your political figures to make a change and have a strong stance on climate change. There's a lot of other political events that overshadow climate, but it is something that will affect all of us in the long run. And also, as a consumer, you can make some choices about which companies you do and don't support. But also remember not just to focus on climate change, although it is an important factor. Make sure that you also focus on ethical things and workers' rights. So even if a company is really, vegan and organic and stuff and seems to be really eco-friendly, it might exploit its workers. So make sure you check their Modern Slavery Agreement Act thing. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but yeah. So yeah, that's my video for today. Climate change is real. Try and do something about it. If there's people denying climate change, then try and give them the facts. Ask why they think that climate change isn't real, and hopefully try and change their mind, because it's pretty damn real. So yeah, have a nice day. Bye.